Welcome to the CHYE in partnership with COL Live K-Factor podcast with your host, Rabbi Yehoshua Wordy, director of CHYE. Each week we bring you interviews with amazing Jewish entrepreneurs sharing their challenges and successes. Their stories will inspire you to make the Keli to take your business aspirations to the next level. Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting week of the K-Factor podcast. I'm very excited and honored this week to be sitting with Moshe Katzman, well-known business person here in Crown Heights. And Moshe has a frozen food company called
the New York Pasta Authority.
The New York Pasta Authority. He's been running his business for how many years?
20 years now.
20 years now, and we're honored to have you. Welcome, Moshe, to the K-Factor podcast.
Thank you. It's my pleasure and honor to be here.
So we're going to go back to our classic style, and we'd like to hit the rewind button, and let's go all the way back. You finished yeshiva, you went through kollel. How did you, tell us a little bit your journey, how you ended up, in pasta and in frozen foods. Give us a little bit of your journey.
Okay, basically went through the system here in Elaterra, got married, went to kollel actually for a year, and was looking for something to do after I got married. Not having gone through any college or anything, was looking for some type of business, and I always enjoyed the food business. And I was talking to my wife that I wanted to get into the food business, maybe open a restaurant. She said, you can get into any type of food business, but no restaurant. Because when you're in a restaurant business, you're a slave, and it's never-ending hours, etc., etc. So to begin with, I said, for a good way to get into the food business would be to, I went to the OK Hashgacha, OK Labs, signed up to be a mashgiach. And that way, they sent me out for 1 week to a chocolate factory, or 1 week somewhere else, a spray dry company, whatever it was. So like this, I got a feel of different food companies and what they do, how they do it. And while I was doing it, I was getting paid, which was good. While I was working for the OK, 1 or 2 months into this venture, one of the rabbis, Rabbi Stigman Olav Shalom, he actually was a very good friend of mine. He called me over and he said, you know something, I have something for you. There's a guy that is opening up a gefilte fish company, actually, somewhere in New Jersey, and he needs a mashgiach. He's not religious, but he doesn't want to pay a mashgiach full time. He can't afford it, so he's looking for a mashgiach / manager. Maybe it's something you should go look into it. Here's his phone number. Call him up. I went out for an interview, and sounded like an interesting, thing. I went down there, worked there for a week. He was setting himself up in some type of mushroom factory up in South Jersey. It was about an hour and a half drive from Brooklyn. At the end of the week, I say, okay, we made up. You're going to pay me X amount per week. When am I getting my check? Well, I'm just starting. I can't. I don't know. And it ended up being that I said, you know what, I'm going to work and I'll become a partner with you and I won't get paid. And that's how I started in the food business.
And he agreed?
He agreed.
Okay.
We got along well. We were building machines. I was learning. He taught me everything from how to pull steam pipes. We built a automated blancher, which is a cooker for the gefilte fish. And we had air lines. We had to pull hydraulic hoses. We had to do everything from scratch. We used to go out, buy the things and put it together. I got a very, very good education in and this was actually...
What was the name of this gefilte fish brand?
It was called Premier Kosher Foods. It was only out there for 3 years, and it went bust because we couldn't. We couldn't. It would never. And it was. We came into the gefilte fish business as it was dying from being in cans and jars. It ended up being that the machine
you were making canned
and jars, which is in the food business. It's the hardest that you could do. I mean, because anything that has to go into a jar or a can has to be sterilized. And there's a lot of different details that you have to know and do. And it's also very hot and hard and it was long hours, but it gave me a very, very good education in the food business. At the end, we actually the machine that we built is actually now was bought by Manischewitz, and they are using it to fill their cans automatically as we speak.
So just as a side note, I guess as a kid I grew up eating jarred gefilte fish, and it's gone because people's taste just changed. Well, what happened to it? That it
It basically is cheaper to buy the frozen. The frozen has a totally different taste,
right? Totally,
and it's a better taste.
Right.
And slowly but surely, people started using the frozen fish and stopped. You know, the old people that used to buy the jarred fish stopped buying it, and it was over.
So you're in this company, you get all this training. It's 3 years, and the company goes bankrupt. And so what's the next?
So I was left with I actually not only invested time, I invested some money. So I had my hands on some of the equipment. In the end, we from that mushroom factory we moved to Rutgers Center for Advanced Food and Technology. They had a pilot program where they also had when you put the jars or cans in and sterilize it, it's called a retort. It has to be special steam. They had a small machine that they could do it with. And they had they allowed us to come into their facility and set it up and run it there. We got it running. We started making some inventory, but we weren't getting anywhere. And we had to come to a point where we had to separate. And there's a new investor came in and wanted to put in a lot of money into this business, and he had a whole thing where he came from Strites Matzah, and he wanted to do the gefilte fish and the matzah together, and he wanted to move our machinery to Pennsylvania to build a new plant from scratch with our equipment, and I gave him the ultimatum: either you take me or my partner with the equipment, and whatever, we'll figure it out. And he chose me. I was younger, whatever it is. And I went with the equipment to Pennsylvania for another 3 years. We had a contract. In the end, that also never panned out. But from there, we had to buy a lot of equipment. I set it up. It was a big 30,000 square foot plant. It was a whole saga and story in itself. But in the end, the person that helped me buy a lot of equipment was someone from Long Island. I became very friendly with him. And so he heard that when we closed up shop, he said, Moshe, why don't we do something? There's no good ravioli out there, kosher ravioli out there. Let's do it. I know all the equipment. I know the people. Let's start making it. And so we formed our own partnership, me and him together. He put in some money. And the way we said we're going to start is we're going to do it differently this time. Instead of us to do it the way they did it, you need a lot of capital. First of all, to set up the factory, and for inventory, getting in, payroll, etc. You need a lot of money for it. We said we're going to go to a non-kosher facility that makes ravioli. Okay. And we're going to bring in our rabbi, our ingredients, make our recipes. Make a production, rent a day from them, make the production, freeze it, bring it to our freezer, sell it. We need more, we keep making more and keep doing. So the first guy we met was some guy in Queens. We went there, I got the ingredients, the rabbi, we made our first 500 pounds. I was so excited. It's beautiful. I go to my first customer and I bring him samples. He looks at it. He says, give me 1,000 pounds. I said, oh, okay, this guy is not for me. I need to go to a bigger guy that could do 1,000 pounds an hour, 1,500 pounds an hour. And I found a bigger guy, and Baruch Hashem, that's how one thing led to another. We started New York Pasta. First, in the beginning, we started selling only to restaurants and caterers, and then we started printing, retail boxes and building it up as we go along.
So bottom line is that hunch that there was no good ravioli was the correct hunch. It was a new item and people bought into it.
Yes. There was definitely one guy that made non-Chalav Yisrael ravioli, or even maybe there was one that made a Chalav Yisrael, but not with the high quality, not the way the real Italian authentic. Just to give you an example, we not only, when it came to raw ingredients, our main item is cheese ravioli. And in cheese ravioli, we use a certain type of cheese that's called ricotta. And in ricotta, there's all different types. There's a whey-based ricotta, there's a whole milk ricotta, and then there's something called ricotta impastata. It's like a paste. It's very thick and heavy, heavy cream. It's very creamy and it's very delicious when you put it into ravioli. And when you put that in, the way the old-fashioned Italian ravioli was made was with that. Uh-huh. The problem is that cheese is expensive, and everyone uses the other cheeses, adds starches and water and other stuff, and that's why it doesn't have the same taste. But we don't cut any corners, and we couldn't find good. One of our biggest problems was finding good raw ingredients that's kosher and chalav Yisrael. Uh-huh. So we had to create it. So we went to the best company that makes this ricotta, and we got them to agree to make it for us, our own kosher run. We'd bring in our own milk tanker, 70,000 pounds of milk. We'd make our own. We'd make 15,000 pounds of cheese at a time. Then we'd send it to the factory, make all our products, our ravioli, tortellini, stuffed shells, manicotti, and all that stuff, and keep doing that every month as we went along.
So the beginning of this new venture. So I guess you're coming from the gefilte world. So it was your partner that had all the recipes, and what was your role?
So he was actually helping me just make all the connections, but I actually was one that was making the recipes with the owners of the factories. And actually, the funny thing was that in this factory, they made ravioli every single day, their own stuff. Whenever I made my stuff, the owner would take home a case of my ravioli. Oh, yeah? Because he knew, he says, my ravioli is not like yours. He saw what we put into it. And it's expensive, but we're not cheap, but we're not expensive, but we're fair, but we give the best possible product.
Uh-huh. So let's stop for a second. A lot of people listening are in partnerships. I see that you've been in partnerships for quite some time. Tell us a little bit. What's the secret to maintaining a good partnership relationship?
To be honest with you, the truth is that the partnership actually lasted for a few years, and then at the end, when we started getting my ex-partner actually was in the machinery business, was another type of business, and he wanted to go on in his own way, and he wanted to do even in the food things his own way. After I worked hard on building what I had, so we agreed to disagree, and in an amicable and good way, we parted. I gave him back what was owed to him, etc. Uh-huh. He was happy, and we did it all with a lawyer, and everything was good. To be partners is the best way is if everybody knows what their job is, right, and lets that person do if you're in sales or if you're in manufacturing, or what your strong point is, and everyone has to participate. If your strong point is giving the capital, then stick out. Don't get into the manufacturing side of it, right, and tell me how to make, right, the product.
Comprende. So you're into this now. You're in the pasta venture. How many years now is it that you're?
20 years.
20. So the food industry, the kosher food industry, I'm sure you've watched it transform and reinvent itself over and over again. So I'm sure that must have presented challenges along the way.
Yeah, it definitely did. It came to the point where after a while, we were renting space, since we didn't have our own plant. We were renting space in a freezer in Brooklyn to store our pasta. And I would come there every day. I had my truck parked. I would pay for parking, and we would pick our orders, and my driver would deliver, etc. After a while, the person that owned the place was getting a little older, and he wanted to retire. I found out about it, and I bought the building from him. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm anyways storing my pasta, and I moved my offices in there. Once I got into the building, I had to maximize. He had a frozen storage business, which wasn't really maximized properly. So I actually invested a lot of time and effort into doing that. And when I did that, I kind of, there's only a certain amount of hours in there. I neglected the pasta business. Uh-huh. And after a while, I built it back up, the storage to where it was. I maximized it, and there's nowhere to grow with it. And I sat down with my wife. We said, listen, there's only a certain amount you could do with the storage, and we maximized it. Let's let's sell that and go on and concentrate on the pasta, because the pasta, really, we didn't even begin. We only started touching the kosher section of the supermarkets, and we want to go mainstream, where it's a whole different ball game, and there's much more potential. So in the end, we ended up. So that's why in the last 5 years we sold the storage business, and we went into pasta full time back in a big way.
So let's talk a little bit. So far, we were talking more about the production side and so on and so forth. Let's talk a little bit about the sales side of it. In other words, there's creating the product, and then there's getting people to purchase the product. Tell us a little bit about how you approach stores and how that worked out in terms of selling.
We call it man-to-man combat. You got to go out there, and the best way for in food service sales is for me, the easiest way for me to make my sales was I utilized the Kosherfest. I would set up a booth and set up my product, and all the chefs would walk by, and everyone saw it and tasted it, and the sale was done basically. Then I just had to touch base with them and start getting them to order it and put it on the menu and get it into. And with sales also, you never know. Sometimes you're running after this big customer. You think he's very big, he's going to buy a lot. In the end, he buys 10 cases, 20 cases, and the small guy that you don't even invest time, all of a sudden he's buying 50, 100 cases. You don't know where. So you have to treat every customer and every lead with the same respect and the same follow-up. And then you have to keep pounding the pavement and going out there. I work together with my wife, Baruch Hashem. We're actually partners in this. She runs the office. I take care of manufacturing and sales, but she helps me out. She sets up my appointments, and she does the follow-up work on the phone. She's very good with that. People like her, so I'm lucky with that.
So for people listening, what would you say is the secret to a successful husband and wife partnership in business? Is there any particular rules you would tell people they should follow?
It's hard to say, but it does help. I mean, if you're both not together in the same, like I say, we both know what we have to do. She takes care of the books and the billing and all the computer work and all that stuff, and I take care of the manufacturing. She doesn't really come ever to so we work well together. Right. It's but for some people it doesn't work. So
let's talk a little bit about competition. In any good industry, there'll be competition. Tell us a little bit how you navigate that.
I love competition, especially like I said, when I went into the cold storage business, I lost a lot of my products, and I didn't have. I was out of stock of some things, and so my competition obviously took over some of the shelves, and people started buying it, which is good because people came back to me and says, we tasted the other guy's stuff and we can't eat it. Please, can you get your stuff back on the market? I'll tell you even something better. We were when we started early on. So there was different supermarkets we were trying to get into, and always we used to. So there was a nice upscale supermarket chain of like 30 stores in New Jersey called King Cullen supermarket. It's a nice upscale. So I think Kings or Kings Cullen, whatever, Kings Cullen. So we were calling them to take it in. And one of the things my wife was talking to them about was saying, well, it's kosher. I have 4 different products, different types of raviolis in my freezer. What do I need New York pasta for? We have some vegetarian stuff, we make up no cheese, which other people don't have. Ours is kosher. And then she says, and ours is better. So he says, for a second, 1 second, you're saying yours is better than all those 4? You know what? Let's do a blind tasting in the office. I want you to bring, he named off 4 top ravioli things. I want you to buy one of each of those. Bring your stuff. You're going to cook it up. We have a kitchen in the office. You're going to lay it out without any bags, without anything on the side. And I'm going to have 5 people coming from the office, and they're going to rate everyone on appearance, on taste, on everything. And we took them up on the offer. We went there. I was a little worried, because I never tasted the other guy's stuff because they're not kosher, obviously. But Baruch Hashem, We won on everything.
Oh, wow.
And he put it in. The problem was we didn't have the right distribution to be able to follow up and take advantage of that thing, which now, Baruch Hashem, we're more capable of doing that.
Got it. Let's talk a little bit just from going back, going up a few thousand feet, so to say, just the kosher food industry in general. Just, from your vantage point, talk about like some of the new trends that are going on in the kosher food world and things of that nature.
Listen, I think the kosher food industry right now is what I would like to also start offering more things to the market is I think what's very important is right now most families, the mother and the father are working, come home late. They come home, the mother comes home 5 minutes before her children get home. And when the kids come home a half hour or 45 minutes later, they're hungry, they want to eat. So to be able to make, not, to put a dry slice of pizza in the oven and heat it up, you can do it once, twice, but this is like pasta meal, like this my type of thing, and we're going to be adding more stuff to it, like lasagnas and all different types of things. We're going to have our items are going to be pre-cooked, so it'll take you 3 minutes, and you'll have a ready-made bit of sauce in the bag, so that you could, you have a whole meal in 7 minutes. You could serve it, and it's an enjoyable meal. It's a homemade. You could.
Oh. So you're saying
more ready-made foods that are dinners,
right,
that for families, but homemade dinners. Not it shouldn't be like
not those frozen
that have no taste and no anything.
Right. Got it.
Quality.
So people listening love to hear stories. Tell us if a challenge along, at whatever point during the business. Something that came up that was a challenge and how you dealt with it.
Challenge. I say the biggest challenge is in any business, and I guess the food is no different. Is making sure you're you have enough capital to keep it going, because to get a good product and then to sell it. And then when the customer calls you, you don't have it because you don't have the money to make it, and you can't pay you have to pay your old bill before you make a new stock. And keeping things rolling, cash flow is number one issue that you have to be.
So, was there a particular challenge, and how did you navigate that challenge?
Well, right now, in the last year, Baruch Hashem, we actually partnered up with a big company that is helping us go to the next level.
So they like your product and decide
so they saw our product, they love our product, and they see a good potential with it, and we're actually in the middle of right now building our own factory, and going forward with it. I'm very excited about it.
Oh, that sounds very exciting. It's like a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
So, Kiddush Hashem throughout, or Hashgacha Pratis, throughout the years of running the business, any particular story of Hashgacha Pratis or Kiddush Hashem that stands out that you're...
I mean, one thing I see is that definitely I can't be by every single production. So, but since we're doing it right now, until now, we were doing it in a plant that was not kosher, and when we do it, we have to have a mashgiach. So, automatically, whenever the rabbi comes in, all the employees, they do everything more correctly, the more on top of their game. Not only for kosher, but also for quality-wise, keeping things, making sure that they're making the product correctly and that it's coming out in the way it's supposed to be and being packaged right, etc.
So, imagine a young fellow walks up to you, getting ready to get involved in some kosher food venture, and they come and they're asking you for some advice. What advice would you tell them? You're looking at them and you want to impart what you've been doing this for 20 years, and you want to just give them some wisdom that'll put them on the right path. What would that wisdom be?
Wisdom is, if you would ask me 20 years ago if I would be here now where I am and at this stage in the business, I would tell you fell off the moon. It's never going to happen. You have to first of all make a great product and believe in it, and you have to work hard. There's a lot of hard work went into this. From getting up early, 5 o'clock in the morning, going down for production, being there early and getting, there's a lot of persistence and you need a lot of, if you're going to give up, don't get into it. You have to be very persistent. Determination, and you have to have a good product. The proof is in the pudding, as I say. You have to, if people buy it and reorder.
So why would you say that you were able to make such a good product? What happened that you pulled off, that you were able to, in a blind taste test, your ravioli came out, as the top ravioli. What do you attribute to the...
First, obviously, siyata d'shmaya, there's definitely that God's hand in all of this, that's for sure. But it's very simple. What you put in is what you get out. I know what I put in, and we put in the best. But
how did you get trained to know to do that? Did you grow up in a house of cooking? What?
Yeah, actually, my mother was actually a great cook. She still is.
You always had a knack as a child for food.
That's why I said. But when I always wanted to go into the food business. I always enjoyed food. I always liked it. Even when I was as a bacher, I used to work in camp or in yeshiva. I used to take care of the kitchen. Work. I always enjoyed tinkering and watching, and I still do that.
Right. So for talking on that track, let's talk a little bit about R&D. I mean, every company has to always be innovative and coming out with new things. What percentage of your time do you spend on R&D, and how? And what wisdom would you share on that?
Well, now with our new plant, we're actually setting up a whole kitchen, and we're going to be spending a lot of time. That's going to be a lot of hours of the day going into it. I have a whole bunch of new products that I never was able to do. Like we have a breaded jalapeno cheese ravioli, which is coming out soon. We're going to have a lot of different items that are,
But if someone's listening to this and trying to get business wisdom, what percentage of time should someone allocate to R&D versus, maintaining their time focused on their traditional mainstay of their business?
I mean, you first have to have a core. When we started, we had the core items that we needed to be able to go to customers for pasta. And now we're just going to start adding different flavors and stuff like that. But you need to spend until you get it right. You need to spend as many hours as you need to. Every person is different and every item is different. So it's hard to say. Yeah.
Is there any particular business books or business person that caught your attention, you attribute your success to, or you got some wisdom out of?
Chavis Alavovas, maybe.
No, what?
That's I've read some business books, but not really. I'm not really into reading too many books. I don't have time for that, and I never really. I mean, just comment.
Did you ever have a business mentor, or it's just all coming out of a natural entrepreneurial energy?
It's. I guess I was always into. Actually, from when I was 16, I was always making something somewhere. I always had this entrepreneurial type of entity I took care of myself. Put it this way. Right. I come from my parents gave me everything I have and everything I needed. Obviously, I never was missing anything. But from when I was like 15, 16 years old, I was already buying all my clothes and stuff like that. I was helping out. I wanted different things, and I made sure to get how I got it. I always got myself a side job or something or this or that.
Okay. What do you do for downtime? Are you totally focused on business and as business, or how are you able to? Is there something that you let out steam out with?
I enjoy biking. I do. I actually had a great trainer. A couple of years ago, I had to lose some weight, so I went to the kosher gym was on Coney Island. It was still open there, right. And there was a trainer there, and he trained me on the bike. And then I bought a bike and I used to go to the park, and that's what I like to do when I could, and I should do it more.
work-life balance, especially when someone's an entrepreneur, it is a tremendous amount of hours you have to put into the business. What wisdom would you share with people? How do you maintain that healthy balance, dedicated to the business, dedicated to the family, dedicated to the Yiddishkeit? How do you keep it all together?
Listen, Baruch Hashem, I have every morning I have a routine. I get up early. I have a shir. I daven with a minyan every day, and I feel anytime if I miss the minyan for whatever reason, my day doesn't feel the same. It just doesn't go right. And like I said, my wife said 9 to 5. You're totally in there. I understand. There's some days you have to be later, earlier. I understand that, but on a regular basis, when it came 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I'm usually home helping my wife, spending time with the kids, because at the end of the day, 20 years passed. I'm actually 25 years of marriage, and the kids are getting out of the house. If you don't spend time with them now, that's it. It's over. I mean, that's the whole purpose, is to have a family life.
Absolutely. So, Moshe, if someone listening to this podcast wants to reach out to you, they have questions about getting into a food business or anything else, how would they reach you?
The best way to reach me is with my email. You could do it at Moshe, Moshe, at nypasta.com, Moshe at nypasta.com, and I'll be more than happy to help as much as best as I can. As I say, there's the God Almighty gives parnasa to everybody, and anybody that I could help, I'll be more than happy to help.
Thank you for listening to the CHYE in partnership with COL Live K-Factor podcast with your host, Rabbi Yehoshua Wordy. We look forward to bringing you more amazing entrepreneurs to share their stories. See you next week.